Alrighty, hello. So jumping right into it. I'm gonna try to make a video every week. I feel like it's a little bit easier to kind of communicate some of my thoughts and concerns and everything like that, rather than writing a little note. Um, uh, no shame to the note people, but I feel like this for my brain works a little bit better. Plus, too, you could just kind of follow along and whatever. I feel like it's kind of fun to listen to, but we shall see. A little bit of backstory. I am a knower. I have watched Game of Thrones multiple times. I know a lot of the lore. I have watched House of the Dragon, a bunch of other stuff. So just so you guys know, like Rehaz says, you can't really say a lot when the notes if you've already seen the show and stuff, because he'll totally accidentally spoil the book. Because things that we're picking up on is not the same shit you guys are picking up on, and we're picking up on stuff for different reasons and stuff like that. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll just jump right into it. Something that I've realized, and this is kind of just as a whole for the book, I didn't realize a lot of the characters were so young. I didn't realize that Daenerys and Jon were 13 or whatever. Like, that's so young for doing the things that they're doing is crazy. Yeah, no, I just kind of took me back a little bit and made me rethink everything. So that's definitely a really cool part about reading this book so far. I did make some notes about each chapter. I might not talk about every chapter. I might talk more about certain chapters. Just really whatever is the most important, I think. Or at least I think is most important with the knowledge that we have so far. Cool. All right. Jumping in chapter 11. This is the wedding chapter with Daenerys and Khal Drogo. You kind of get the whole intro of how fucking ruthless the Dothraki are and how ruthless Khal Drogo is supposed to be and everything like that. You also get her getting all the gifts and wedding presents and everything like that, so that's really cool. She gets gifted 3 dragon eggs that are fossilized, so they're not real dragon eggs. And that's kind of really cool because they're extremely rare. But also, Daenerys Targaryen is a Targaryen, and Targaryens, their mascot are dragons. So it's kind of a cool symbolism that's what she got gifted. But anyways, going into later in that chapter, you totally expect her to kind of get raped, if I'm being honest. Excuse my French, but they kind of that's what you think is going to happen. So when that didn't happen, or at least it kind of seemed like it didn't happen, it seemed semi-consensual. When they did consummate their marriage, it was kind of interesting to see how Khal Drogo kind of has a soft spot, and he can't really communicate with her. He doesn't really know English, but he's not trying to hurt her, which is an improvement. Chapter 12. Nothing crazy to report on this. You get the first mention of Varys, who's a really cool character. He's the master of spies, which they talk about, or the master of whispers, or whatever they say. The way I look at it, he's basically like the medieval CIA, essentially. They just information and stuff like that, spies, and they send some information to Eddard and Robert as they go to King's Landing, and then hopping over to chapter 13. This is Tyrion and Jon's chapter. It's obviously Tyrion's perspective, but obviously Jon's a big part of it. By far, this has been one of my favorite chapters so far. I really enjoy these two characters. I think they're great characters, well-written characters, and it's really interesting that these two characters kind of got paired up together because they are very similar in the aspect of they've grown up, kind of looked down upon, discarded, redheaded stepchild kind of vibe, you're part of the family, but over there, you know what I mean? But for various reasons, different reasons. Obviously, Jon's a bastard, so he's not looked at the same as all the other Stark kids. And with Tyrion, he's a dwarf, so he gets quite literally looked down on. So that's kind of funny. But he's also fucking in the book, he's very ugly. So it kind of repulsive, and people just get the fuck away from me kind of thing. Because of that, Tyrion kind of shares Jon with that he needs to arm himself with knowledge, right? Because Tyrion can't, he says he can't ride into battle or he can't swing a sword or whatever. He'll never be able to do that. So he has to arm himself with knowledge because that's all he can do. There's a very, very famous quote later in the book or later in the show. I'm not going to say it or anything like that, but just it kind of has to do with this knowledge and stuff. So very excited for that to happen. Best quote in the whole show, in my opinion. But yeah, also shit is fucked, dude. Like, it's brutal up there. It's cold. It's shitty. And Tyrion's pretty much regretting his decision to go to the Wall, I think. Chapter 14 is arguably the biggest chapter we've had so far, like, out of, like, weight. They tried to kill Bran. Caitlyn immediately sniffs it out, and she's like, something's afoot. Like, obviously, someone's trying to kill him, but she kind of immediately is like, I think it's this. And then shares that with her kids and some other important people. One of them being Theon Greyjoy, who is a very interesting character. He's mentioned a couple times so far. But he is Ned Stark's ward, which they've mentioned. And I had to look it up because I actually never realized why he was there or what he was. But he is a ward, which is essentially, for you that don't know, ward is essentially a medieval foster child, kind of. But it's only for, like, people of high birth. So, like, a king can take in another king's son or daughter or whatever as a political enemy or as a political hostage or just kind of as, like, a favor because they all got killed and they're too young to take the throne or whatever. So, kind of just a foster kid. That's the way to look at it. A foster kid asterisk. So, yeah. But I really liked how Catelyn she's knowledgeable, but she also understands that she is a woman and she will never be able to be the lead of the Stark house. So she has to teach her kids how to be leaders and how to sniff out things like this. And so instead of just, like, basically telling Robb why she thinks everything's happened, she makes him kind of work it out himself, which is a really cool kind of dynamic that I really liked. And he kind of figures it out. And then obviously she shares the theory that the Lannisters are planning to kill us and get rid of the Starks and take over the throne and stuff like that. And they kind of look at her like she's crazy, but also like this is not something that hasn't happened before or with other houses and stuff. So it could have some truth to it. We don't know. Curious to see how that goes. But yeah, and then nothing crazy to report on chapter 15 besides I fucking love the Hound. Great character. And Joffrey's kind of a fucking bitch. Like, for real. It's kind of a whiny little bitch. Excuse my French, but yeah. Also you meet Robert Baratheon's brother. And one of his two brothers. And you kind of see the stark difference between the two brothers and how one is big, fat, and grizzly and a big beard and, you know, a very fierce warrior. And you can tell that the other one is very clean, refined, very knight in shining armor vibe. No scratches on his armor, very fancy, pretty, chiseled jawline, perfect hair, the whole 9 yards, right? And Sansa's like, 13-year-old, 14-year-old girl vibes, whatever. And then chapter 16, kind of fucking wild, right? Obviously, you can tell already that Sansa is up to no good, and she has a political agenda so far. With her telling Robert, like, basically to kind of get rid of this problem, and Robert's like, I'm not doing that. They're my boy, my friend's kids. Like, I'm not gonna treat them like that. And you could tell that she's kind of trying to pull the strings from behind, and Robert's kind of fighting it, but he's also kind of like low-key pussy whipped, so he's kind of giving into it, and which is crazy because she's fucking your brother, but that's a whole different thing. Yeah, and then another big point from that chapter is there's a really weird dynamic going on with Ned and Robert, and how they're boys, like they're friends, they've fought battles together and everything like that. They have all this good blood together, but now that he's the king and now he's the hand, and they kind of have to be professional in certain situations. And this is a situation where they can't just be boys; they have to actually be professional with each other. So you can tell that it's like really paining Robert to like dish out this punishment. And it's very noble of Ned. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Look forward to next week.